Hey everyone, and welcome back to the LazaModz YouTube channel. I'm Zach, and today I'm going to show you how to completely disassemble the brand new DualSense Edge controller. Let's head over to the workbench, and I'll show you how to do it. And welcome to the workbench. I am assuming if you are watching this video, you have already seen the review videos of all the Edge controllers and unboxing videos, so I am going to stick with strictly disassembling this controller and showing you how to do it in the most efficient way possible. So, pretty cool little case. Looks like we've got some protective covering on the top. This is actually my first time handling the DualSense Edge controller, so my first impressions as well as your guys. So, I've got a few tools laid out. As you can see, got a couple of different camera angles. We'll switch to those throughout the disassembly. Most important tools, a Phillips 00 screwdriver, a couple pry tools, got a pair of pliers, got some tweezers, another wedge for prying, and it always helps to have a couple containers. I'll show you what those are for, and a magnetic mat. So let's see if I can get into this controller, which I'm thinking, yep. So first, let's take off the trim. Set that off to the side, and let's remove thumbsticks, which is very cool of Sony to be able to provide those. So now no thumbstick drift is ever an issue. And I do not see any screws in here, so just like the DualSense before it, and if you've watched my other DualSense video, I'll link it. Disassembly video. I will link it in the cards, also in the description. You'll know that I had to find out that Sony has hidden two screws behind the R1 and the L1. But I'm sure there's also screws in the handles. We just have to figure out how to get to them. Like I said, this is my first impression also, so I'm trying to figure it out as we go. It looks like that can be pried apart. Possibly. Yeah, there we go. All right, so I've just got the straight pry tool here. Just kind of working it around the controller. Look at that, how easy. Try to keep everything in frame for you guys. Don't mind the noises. There we go. All right, cool. So here's the back. Looks like we got like a little rubber grip filling on the back. Interesting. We'll set that to the side. Controller is flashing. I might have accidentally turned it on. And there are all the screws. Looks like plenty of them. All right, so now we'll take our 00 screwdriver. And I'm just going to put all the screws in the container. I'm not going to use the screw mat, the magnetic screw mat yet, because I'm going to save that for the internal screws. So that way I know I can place them exactly where I took them out. All right, so it looks like there are a lot of screws holding this guy together. And there's also two more. I just found two more. They were hidden on me. They blended in. Okay, so the two longer screws. Okay, interesting. Now, can we get into... It wants to open. What's this here? Oh, okay, I'm seeing here. So this this mechanism is the slide mechanism that releases, how ingenious, that releases the trim on the front. So it literally just latches right there, and that's what the little spring is for. So let's see if we can get that out. Okay, so I just pulled the mechanism over to the left to expand the spring, and it should maybe lift out. Let's see. Yep, there we go. So we've got a little spring that goes on the end of this. Just dropped it. Spring that goes on the end of this, plus the spring that connects right there. Definitely don't want to lose that, so I will just latch that back as it's supposed to go, and there are 2 more screws underneath that. So let's take all those out. And hopefully that's it for screws on the exterior. I think it's going to come apart. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Yep. Okay, and there we go. So now we're into the controller. You can see the back. It looks like it's got a screw right here, so this comes off. We'll definitely be taking that off to customize the back half of the controller. So if you want to take that off, I would imagine you just, yep, same 00 screw. I'll set that off to the side and let you guys take a look at the internals of the back half of the controller. So we've got a lot going on here. Looks like a smaller battery, which is an interesting choice for Sony. Let's see if I can get any info on that. 1050 milliamps, so it's actually a little bit smaller than the original DualSense battery. I guess you have to save space where you can for these extra buttons on the back, and that's where they decided to save space. Okay, so that just pops out. And now I'm going to switch containers, so everything that goes into the left-hand container, I'm going to remember that that goes on the inside. So we've got a bunch of screws in here. And I would imagine that these just hold, yep, take a listen to that. So those are your paddles on the back. So they just latch in there, that's the mechanism that holds them. And then there should be a little pressure switch right there on each side that it's actually clicking. And that's how those work. Interesting. Okay. Let's take some of these screws out. It looks like that's all to the same housing. And that's not screwed to anything. So let's start maybe over here on the left. And now is the time to use the screw mat. The magnetic screw mat is always your friend, because I'm going to lay them exactly as I take them out of the controller. So that way there is no confusion about where they go back, because it looks like on this there are quite a few Phillips head screws, and I don't want to forget any when I'm reassembling. All right, so let's see if we can, nope, still not ready to come out yet. Another screw here. That's a black one, so it was hidden behind the battery. That's a long screw. We'll put that one in the middle, because that's where the battery goes. And maybe the ribbon cables. Let's grab those. Nice and easy, not to get in a rush. Everything should be nice and easy. But of course, if you're watching this video, I'm going to assume that you are already mechanically inclined. So I don't think that you're going to undertake this if you're not confident in your skills. But if you are, I'm trying to break it down for you and explain everything that I'm doing in a way that makes sense. Okay. So the microphone jumps out of its little house. It looks like it done the same thing in my very first DualSense video, if you guys go back and watch that one. But we're going to take our time and get all of these ribbon cables disconnected. This one is going to be a little bit longer. He does not want to stay in his house. He is ready to party. Let's, one more time. Let's put you back right there. You stay there, my friend. Lots of ribbon cables and lots of screws is what I've come to realize so far. Okay. Just hold you there. Perfect. Okay. We're still not free yet, so there must be more screws. Maybe those? Those are not. Ha! Another screw that's holding the triggers in. Put that there, and we're getting a little movement now. Patience is the key when taking these apart. You don't want to be rushing, and if you're talking about rushing, you should check out my disassembly video where I take apart a regular DualSense in less than 2 minutes. I'll link that in the description if you're interested. And it looks like we've got a couple more. Wires that can be disconnected. These are to the rumble motors for sure. It's just a positive and a negative wire, so those are definitely to the rumble motors. It looks like they route those. Oh yeah, look here. All right, guys, we're learning as we go. Check this out. So the entire trigger mechanism is removable. So maybe possibly Sony thinking about replacing those in the future. So I'm gonna set that on the left-hand side. See if I can get this one out. There we go. Disconnect that, just pulling on the blue tab of the ribbon cable. It's very important, always pull on the blue tab. Don't try to pull, especially on these, don't pull on the white part of the cable at all, or pinch them, or nick them, or cut them, because if you do, that is where the data and the electricity, the electric current travels. So if you nick that at all, the connection will be interrupted and it will not work anymore. And I would imagine parts for those are going to be limited here at first. All right, so we have exposed a couple more screws. I'm going to take those out and put them on the magnetic mat. And let's see if possibly, we can. All right, so this is the back half, and now you can get a good look of the tack switch or pressure switch that you can see underneath. Interesting how Sony chose to do that. I'll show on this camera also. You can see right there's the switch. Okay. So we will set this off to the side, and let's see what we've got to work with here. I'm not seeing any screws, but let me grab a Sharpie. We do this to each one of our controllers. We serialize each one of our controllers, and we have a system to serialize each one. But on this is my personal controller, so I'm going to put a 1 for the very first Edge controller and a Z on both the touchpad ribbon cable and the actual controller to serialize that one. Since I'll be using this one, I'm going to customize it. That way it'll always be serialized with the number 1 and Z for Zach. All right, so it looks like the motherboard is just held in by a couple of clips. You can see those clips right there. I'll point to them. I literally just put a little pressure and it released the motherboard or the logic board, whatever you'd like to call it. Okay, so that's interesting. This is the speaker right in the center. That's the speaker for the controller, and it looks like right here is where the thumbsticks plug in. So that's a very interesting way to go about having connectable or unconnectable, disconnectable, is that a word? Let's say removable thumbsticks. Interesting. All right, I'm going to put that in there, and we're going to finish tearing down this controller. Looks like we've got another screw right in the center. Plenty of screws in this controller. And it still feels like it's in there 2 more. So we've got 2 black screws right here. Just going off a guess, I was going to say these are probably the long ones. It seems like Sony has chose silver for the shorter screws and black for the longer screws. Easy to remember. Let's see. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, cool. So now we have got a lot happening. So looks like right here's the mic mute function and the membrane for the power button. So you can just remove those, remove that if you would like. I'm not going to. It looks like it's holding in there just like it should. There is the cellophane ribbon for the input selection. Pretty similar to the DualSense before it. And this is very interesting. So it looks like we have got obviously some more screws, but it looks like this controller is going to break in half, like threes or thirds. It looks like this middle piece will come out by itself. So I'm going to take this screw out, which is the locking mechanism for the thumbsticks. So I will take that out, just set that there. And there you go. I was right. So that is half of a DualSense Edge controller. Interesting. I don't know if I'm a fan of this particular redesign. Once you've handled it, if you ever break down a controller this far, it feels a little flimsy, so be very careful, because all that's holding the entire controller is these two plastic pieces right here, and they are not very thick, so you want to be very, very careful. Obviously the share and options button, we'll let those sit there, and it looks like here's our PlayStation power button. Interesting design, didn't look like that before. Two more screws for the touchpad, and something just... Okay, check this out. So this is a tiny spring, and I need to find out where that went. I'm gonna hold it in my hand so that way maybe it can focus. There you go. You got it focused now. You can kind of see how thin that is. I'm not even sure how you could make metal that thin to then coil it into a spring. It is microscopic. So I'm trying to figure out where that goes. So let's take a quick look and see if I can figure out. Okay, so it looks like there's another spring maybe right here. And it is. Okay, so there are two springs in the middle housing right beside the PlayStation button. I'm thinking maybe for dampening. I'm not really sure exactly why we would need springs. Unless maybe when people were pressing the power button, it was making a noise in the microphone, since the microphone is so close, so that dampening maybe deadens the noise, maybe? Let's finish taking this controller apart. I will take these two screws out of the touchpad, and I think after that we will be done. Probably held in by a retention clip. Yep, there we go. One on each side. Pull that out. And take a look at how cool the touchpad is. That is a very interesting design with all the shape buttons on the touchpad. Cool little feature. This will make for some very interesting custom designs coming very, very soon. So you'll definitely want to subscribe to the channel if you're looking for a custom DualSense Edge controller. We'll be able to fix you up very, very soon. So there's the back half of the touchpad. And there's the housing. Let's take a look at the buttons. Just pull the membrane off. Okay, so here are your buttons. Circle, triangle, square, and X, or cross, depending on what you prefer. Directional pad, looks the same. Membrane there. I guess I've got these backwards, don't I? I think these buttons are a little bit different. Let me grab, yeah, let's do that. Let me grab a set of buttons from the DualSense and let's compare and contrast. All right, so these are a set of buttons that we have for a custom regular PlayStation 5 Dual Sense controller that we are working on, and I'm curious because I think they look a little different. So let's take a look. So the X from the, okay. So if you guys can see, the buttons are actually different. The one in my right hand is the DualSense Edge, and it is about 1/8 of an inch taller than the regular DualSense buttons, which means you cannot interswap them. So let's take a look at, oh yes, look at the circle button, how different in size that the circle button is. You can even see, like, it's massively different. So that means no button swapping, because they doesn't look like they'll fit. And if you can't get them to fit, I don't think that they will register and press correctly, which is okay for us because, like I said, we're an OEM part customizer, so we customize all of the OEM parts. You're going to see when we reassemble this controller, it's going to look radically different, but every single piece will go back into this specific controller exactly the way that we took it out. So we serialize them, we keep all the parts together, and then that way when we put them back together, you get the original controller that Sony first assembled. So it's an original first party, just customized controller. But that does it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a like rating. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. We will try to help you answer all of the DualSense Edge questions that we possibly can. In the meantime, head over to our website, LazaModz.com, where you can purchase eventually a brand new customized Edge controller, but you'll see on the website we have all kinds of designs like this amazing Naruto controller, or maybe even the Ragnarok Thor controller, which is just stunning. We have something for everyone. So we've got a couple Spider-Man's designs also. Head over to LazaModz.com. Give us a look, and if you would like to place an order, please do so. We would appreciate it. That's what helps us make these videos, keeps us in business. And we appreciate you guys through all the many 15 years that we have had this channel up and been in business for 15 years. We couldn't have done it without you. We appreciate you. Again, my name was Zach. I appreciate you taking the time to disassemble this controller with me. We will have the assemble video coming up very shortly. And until then, Team Laza, hope to be hearing from you soon.